and thank you again for your attendance today at our monthly webinar series. Look, last time I ran the webinar, I'd like to start with this slide, which really sort of encompasses what we do as a company. So IT&T, we are a managed service provider, so we will look after an end-to-end solution on behalf of our business clients. But increasingly, we are also a security-focused company. So the topic of last month's webinar and this month's webinar has been very much around the security ecosystem, which is what I'm showing on this slide here. So we really try to look at security from every possible angle. Every day, every time we look, our team is constantly looking at the ecosystem and what we can be doing to improve that our posture, if you like, for from looking at security. So our 2025 approach to security is really boiling that whole ecosystem down into three main areas. So looking at threat protection and cloud security, which is the focus of today's webinar. Also looking at your data security, compliance, and privacy, and increasingly identity becoming is the thing that we're most looking to ensure that we manage on behalf of our clients. So before we begin, I just wanted to do a little bit of education about area networks. And I do apologise for some. This is going to feel very dry and boring for some. For others, they're already experts in this area. But trying to get a basic understanding out to our customer base as to why area networks are important. So starting with the smallest area network, which we call a LAN, that is an acronym for local area network. So the analogy that we give in this case is like a house on a small street. So where all of the houses or devices are in close proximity to each other and can be easily communicate between each other. So a LAN, or a local area network, is typically used within a single building or a small group of buildings. So the example of a local area network might be the home network that you use, or a small office network. And the example we've given there is the IT&T local area network. So what signifies a local area network is that it always looks like this: 192.168. Some other numbers. So those two first group of three numbers signifies that it's a local area network. A larger network, which is an acronym which is not really used a lot much these days, is what's called a metropolitan area network, or a MAN. So the analogy would be something like the big telco Vocus has a public IP that's been leased to IT&T. And that example is a suburb, e.g. Wollongong. So a description is that a MAN connects multiple LANs together within a city or a large campus. So a good example might be the University of Wollongong campus network. That would be all connected together under a metropolitan area network. And last but not least is we've got a WAN, or a wide area network. And this is where we're now starting to connect together a whole series of local area networks or metropolitan networks together to create a large domain. So an example might be the uses of a leased telecommunication line, the internet, or a corporate network. So these IP ranges have use the full IP range. So in this example, we've got 122.151.128.0 is an example of a wide area network IP range. So why is this all important? Is because this is how the internet is built. It is all about these IP ranges, or these IP numbers, communicating with each other to create the larger internet. So what are some of the positives and negatives of a business being cloud native? So in other words, all of your applications, all of your business important softwares are all hosted in the cloud. So it is definitely simple and easy to learn. And it has been the industry standard for at least the last 20 years to move applications into the cloud. Some of the negatives, however, is that a loss of internet means no access to your cloud resources. The alternative internet results in new public IP and no VPN. So in other words, even if you've got a backup data source, your IP addresses will all change when you switch from one internet provider to another. And that means that the VPN or the device that you use to connect to your cloud resources now has to be reprogrammed. So either which way, it results in downtime and financial losses for your business. So this is an example of how a traditional wide area network or a LAN setup has been created. So we use our internet source, our entity box that's coming from the NBN, then supplies data to your router, the VPN services router. You have your switches within the building, and that VPN services router then creates an IP address. Like the one shown on the screen here. So from that services router and that IP address, which is used to communicate with the wider internet, users within your business can go and search and view the public internet. However, from your business, if your business has access to services that are hosted on a Microsoft Azure cloud, you need a VPN in order to secure that connection between your business and where the Microsoft Azure is hosted. So what is wrong with modems? So the first point I wanted to make here is that modems themselves are unreliable. So the IT&T team have used and tested them all. Billion, Draytech, D-Link, to name a few. None of these modems that are used to connect your business to the wider internet and to your business applications can keep a stable VPN going for more than a few weeks at a time. They're a single point of failure in your business. And I just asked the question, how many times have you rung one of our team for tech support when you can't connect to the internet or to your business application when one of our techs has asked you to power cycle your modem? And the reason we ask you to do that is because that's the only way often that we can re-establish your VPN connection. Modems themselves are what we would call a dumb device. They don't block or filter any internet traffic coming from outside of Australia, for instance, or from dodgy websites. And last but not least, from a support point of view, our techs find them extremely hard to manage remotely. When we have to apply new settings, often the modems require reboot and then we lose connection to your whole business that we're trying to support remotely. So what is some of the features of our Netguard solution? The first feature is that it contains a secondary data source aside from your NBN connection. That secondary data source can be anything that you like, but typically we would recommend a 4G mobile SIM device to act as that fail-safe. So what makes Fusion Broadband different to any other modem that's on the market is that it's an absolutely seamless switchover. For when your primary internet fails, the Fusion device maintains your public IP addresses. So therefore, there's absolutely seamless connectivity when one internet connection fails. In the failover mode, that 4G SIM device is only activated only if and when the main services stop working. That's when it will kick over to the 4G failsafe. So we can put customers on very cheap SIM-only data plans for the 4G device that uses almost next to no data unless it's needed. So the advantages of the 4G fail-safe system from Fusion is that it gives that reliability. It's a continuous internet connectivity, no matter what the data source, whether it's coming from your NBN, Starlink, or any other data source. That Fusion effectively bonds or brings those internet sources into one IP range. So, and it's a very cost-effective solution, considering what the business impacts are when you've lost internet connectivity to your main business applications. So, in this example below, this is now what the how the system's been designed. So, you've got your NTD, or this is the box that's supplied by the NBN, providing data source into the Fusion router, along with the 4G device that you can see connected there. The Fusion then router acts just like any other modem. It connects to your switches within your business, and from there we're able to create this what's called an SD-WAN, or a software-derived wide area network, and that then allows us to gain access to the public internet as well as to any cloud-hosted applications that you might be needing access to. Right. So what we do in very similar to the last slide, apologies, this is a bit of a double up, but with the 4G failover, everything else remains the same. So the Fusion router is basically saying, I don't care which way I get my data. The data I'm going to present to the business is all the same and doesn't change. So when the Fusion device is added to a reliable firewall connection like Clavista, I just wanted to list out some of the reasons why our team here loves Clavista so much. So first and foremost, it provides that reliable and secure VPN connection. So this VPN does not go down. It's hosted in the cloud, and it's basically gives months upon months upon months of reliable VPN connections for a business. It's first and foremost, it is a network firewall. So it is now preventing bad actors from coming into your network, and it blocks them right from where they're trying to get into your network. So unlike a software-derived firewall, basically that means that bad actors can actually be playing in your network. They may not get through, but they're actually playing close to where or at your modem level. When we're using a network, a cloud-based firewall like Clavista, this is actually protecting right at the very beginning of the bad actor route. We're also able to block access to lots of applications that a business may not want their employees to be accessing. So think things like any bad websites, or things that you might even decide that as a business owner that you would like to block access to social media sites. That can all be achieved using Clavista. So we can actually block access to anything that might cause damage to your network. It has got an antivirus scanning as part of it, so it's already scanning things in your email and web and file downloads for malicious content. It's blocking botnets. As I said before, we can restrict access to inappropriate content or high-risk sites. It's also got application visibility and control. So for an administrator of the site, we can get reporting out of, what applications have been used within the business, and that can be looked at from a senior business point of view as to looking at what is appropriate to be used on a company network. So what our Netguard solution actually is it's the IT&T solution, which is a combination of the Clavista hosted firewall, the Fusion broadband, and Microsoft Defender. It's those three used in combination. And when we use them, that solution includes antivirus scanning, anti-spam, intrusion prevention, application visibility, and control. We also can start to map out IP reputation. So, in other words, if something's coming from an IP address which is different or very new or outside of the realm of normal, the Clavista can actually put a block on those straight away. As I said before, it's great for business owners that want to limit web content, so we can put filtering on that. One of the most important security prevention devices that we can include is geo-blocking. So by default now, IT&T sets geo-blocking up so that it only accepts IP addresses from Australia for our businesses that we look after. That geo-blocking, of course, can be removed temporarily if one of your employees was going overseas and needed access to your business networks. But it also includes things like traffic optimization and that botnet blocking. But most importantly, it replaces those dumb, failure-prone on-premise modems with outdated VPN technology with all cloud-hosted, military-grade network protection solutions. And that's really the key thing that we wanted to get across on today's webinar. That modems in themselves, I think, have had their day as your primary device for getting onto the internet and access to your applications. But from when we're supporting your business and your network, we really are making a good case here for replacing those on-premise modems with the modern solution, which we've called Netguard. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you very much for your time today, and I'll open it up for any questions. Thank you. So once again, everybody, I just wanted to say thanks again for attending our webinar today. And if there's any questions or concerns or or if you'd like more information, please feel free to make contact with IT&T. We'd be more than happy to spend a bit of time with you and explain what some of your options are. Thanks again, folks, and see you soon.